Hi, and welcome to the Expansive podcast, our weekly show that we do live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. South African Standard Time. My name is Erik Kruger. As always, it is great to be with you. And I love how my ever elegant co-host, very subtly, as we were introing the podcast, I just see this thing all of a sudden going over his neck. And I'm like, it's definitely not a tie, because he doesn't do that. So you want to tell us about what's happening there around your neck?
No, I'll walk everywhere with this now because it's just part of my outfit when I wake up in the morning. Now, look, for everybody that's listening on the podcast and recording this on voice, there's two things to say. One, sorry that the sound is bad. Erik is being load shedded. If you're not listening in South Africa, that's when we lose our power because we had a president that stole from the country for 8 years. Now our president's fixing everything, but Zuma's an idiot, the last president. And the second thing is Apple's upgraded its systems and GarageBand. How I record the sound is totally different, and I'm running late because I was at a doctor. But what I am doing, if you're not watching this on screen, is I've got my medal around my neck. My Ironman medal, Ironman 70.3, which I did in Durban this last Sunday. And I'm just starting every Zoom meeting I'm starting every Zoom meeting like this. So as everybody comes on, I'm just showing my medal first before anything else. No, this weekend I competed in the Ironman and so that's what's happened.
Congratulations, dude. Listen, I mean, you were overwhelmed by messages from people saying good luck and hope it goes well. And even I got messages from people saying that they were tracking you. I'm like...
Look, I was totally overwhelmed. I had no idea the number of people that messaged me, the number of photos I got on Instagram of people taking photos of me running past them. I had no idea. So I think it's awesome. A lot of people were shouting my name out from the sides, which I didn't know who they were, but really loved all of that. And obviously on digital, I've had hundreds of messages and comments and likes and shares. And so, what an overwhelming sort of feedback loop. I had no idea this was going to be so exciting to the people out there. But yes, I think what I'm really taking away from all of this is how our society has been created over the last sort of few hundred years to come into a place of doing everything we can to bring as much comfort to our lives as we can. And, it's funny because I live in a complex called Bantry Hills, and I'm quite literally, I'm not kidding, literally 250 meters away from a Woolworths and 250 meters away from a Spar. And the security guards here laugh because they say there's Woolworths deliveries all the time. There's 250 meters that we're not walking to the shop to buy stuff, which are pre-packaged so that you don't have to peel the oranges. God forbid we peel oranges. And I'm guilty. I've got peeled oranges right here next to me because God forbid I have to peel an orange. What an archaic thing to do. But, and to put ourselves into a physically uncomfortable place is something that we do so much not to do. And so the Ironman is there's almost this modern version of being uncomfortable. And I think that the feedback I'm getting from everybody, even your dog agrees, even your dog saying he agrees.
Axel and Jaeger. Yeah.
Axel, they're both agreeing.
Yeah.
So I think what people are congratulating me on is, yes, the Ironman itself, but also the fact that I'm going against the human instinct of always looking for more comfort and more convenience. And running the sort of the last 2Ks of the run, it's brutal, eh? I mean, your legs just don't want to move. They're just like, we're done now for the day. And pushing through that was really a very uncomfortable place. But that's exactly why we do this, is to really put ourselves in an uncomfortable place. So, yes, thank you for all the congratulations and thank you for all of that. But I do think that it's human instinctually, not with our human state, to want to put ourselves into that much of uncomfort. But apparently it's very addictive. Everybody I spoke to there was like their 5th, 10th, 20th Ironmans, and they keep doing these things. And I'm like, geez, I didn't even know this world existed until 6 months ago when I really started to get my head into it. But yes, I do think I'm addicted, and I do think I want to enter another one. And training carries on, and it's a wonderful process.
Do you think, so Daniel was just saying, did your knees hold up at your age?
He doesn't say anything about age there, bro. You just add that in there. Daniel, hi. And Daniel messaged about why I do this. Why do you put yourself into discomfort? He wrote a message. He DM'd me Daniel's becoming a friend. He's from the Baha'i faith, which is what my family practices as a religion. And I was recently introduced to him through working with Iraj Abedjan. And, you know, Iraj is quite a well-known Baha'i, quite a thought leader in the space as well. So Daniel and I are becoming friends, and we're doing more and more work together. Did my knees hold up? No, I don't think they did. You know, to be honest, I think it was the number of caffeine energy drinks that I had along the way, which, to be honest with you, I didn't even sleep on Sunday night. You know, I had so much of the stuff going through my system. And also, Daniel, I think I answered your question when you asked, why do you do these things? I think it's to put yourself out of your comfort zone in as many different ways as possible. And I think some people are comfortable doing it academically. But we're definitely not keen to do it emotionally. I mean, who wants to go through a breakup? Who wants to be cheated on? Who wants to be betrayed? Nobody, not at all at any time. And so we avoid those by staying in uncomfortable relationships or just being in ungratifying business partnerships because we don't want to rock the boat too much and go somewhere that we could be hurt or push us out of our comfort zone. So I think the big why is, where else can I push myself out of a comfort zone so I can grow? And writing a book is that, getting up in front of a stage is that, dealing with clients that I don't really want to deal with is that, pushing myself into a physical place that's uncomfortable is doing that. So I think growth only happens on the other side of comfort, as we know, the cliched saying, which often makes so much sense, these cliched sayings. So the why is that, and the knees, no. I mean, I felt really bad for certain people, you know. There's a lot of camaraderie on the race because you're all going through a lot of pain together, right? So you're pushing each other and you're vibing with each other. And the 21 kilometer run, there's 10.5 kilometer loops. And my last 10 kilometer loop is the hardest part. A friend of mine, Jason, said to me, your race only starts 10 kilometers into the run, which I thought was quite smart because yes, you've got energy and you're part of the vibe up until the last 10 kilometers. And then the last 10 kilometers, and for anybody who's religious out there, my apologies, but I remember somebody who I used to work with, Chesco at Primi Piatti, he used to say, Jesus time. Jesus time is lunchtime and dinner time. It's like when you come and meet your maker, right? And he's like, it's Jesus time, everybody, get ready. And I almost kept repeating that to myself. The last 10 kilometers is Jesus time because you have, and look, I'm not religious in any way, but you have to now meet your maker. It's like it's you against you. And I met some guys on my last track that had just started theirs. And I was like, and they were taking strain, they were really in pain, and they still had another 18 kilometers to go, and I was like finishing off. And so yes, there's a lot of knees that are not moving. There's a lot of people that didn't train, which was so funny. It's like there's a certain sect of these Ironman people that say, well, I'm not going to train. I'm just going to rock up and push myself through it. And it's weird. They almost have to prove to themselves that they don't need to train to finish this, which I think is, I suppose, a way of saying I'm powerful and I can break through pain. But I do think the lack of conditioning on your body in the long run could be devastating to your muscles and tendons and heart and lungs and everything else, that you're shocking into systems. But yeah, I think overall I really loved it. I loved the vibe. It was my first competition ever, and to go straight into an Ironman was quite a thing and quite a feat. And I really enjoyed it. I loved it. I'm looking forward to the next one.
When I was studying for physiotherapy, like 2006, 2005, one of the things they do, like they make sure they take advantage of the students, is they position you at the Comrades. So the Comrades is this marathon that you run in SA, and they position you at different stations where you then get to treat people that come in with injuries or whatever the case may be.
Yes.
And I can tell you, so many people pitch up to the Comrades on the day, haven't trained, they're like, we're going to smash this, and they get killed. Like their bodies just can't handle it. They are the ones who spasm the worst. And I'm like, I can imagine then what happens if you're doing an Ironman, but listen, I think the theme of complacency is like, it's such an interesting thing to speak about in this world where literally everything is designed to give us maximum comfort, like you were saying. And, when I started writing about how to be dangerous, that was really the catalyst for it. If I think about it, is that when you are complacent, when you are in a comfort zone, it's it's great for a while because it feels good to be there. Like there's no denying, like it's nice to be in a comfort zone. But over time, what that does is it literally erodes your soul. It literally strips away excitement from your life. And then you wake up one morning and you realize, like, what the hell have I been doing? Like, what's happening in my life? Like, I don't feel challenged. I don't feel excited to wake up and to go into my day. And so, like, I think there's a saying from Nassim Taleb that says, absence of challenge degrades us all. Something to that extent.
Well, look, I think you're describing relationships as well. You know, Esther Perel talks about this, that we look for danger and excitement, and then we also look for comfort and security. And then so what happens is when you start the relationship, you're in this danger sort of space.
Excitement.
And then you settle in, excitement, and you settle into comfort and you lose the danger. And now all of a sudden you're bored. But that's all you seeked anyway, was that comfort. And then now you've got it, and now you're in it, and you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do with this? I'm so bored because I don't have any danger. And she also says that's why makeup sex is so good, because makeup sex says you almost lost that. You were so in such a dangerous place that the sexual connotations afterwards is, oh my God, thank God, this is back into this. And so what most people do is they start off with excitement, but seeking comfort, get into comfort, and then find that this is a downward spiral going nowhere, really. And then we have to find ways to kick ourselves out of it, and look for ways to find that danger in our lives again. And in a world that's modern, we have to almost artificially create spaces of danger, because there kind of isn't anymore. I mean, the most dangerous thing, I guess, is like being in a car accident, I guess, which is horrible to think about, but that's kind of what it is, It's a weird thing. It's a weird dynamic.
But I also think it's just like it's embracing the challenge. And I think that's actually something that COVID did for so many people, is that they were actually bored with their lives and bored with their businesses. And all of a sudden, there was this big thing that just uprooted everything that they knew. And it actually made them come alive, And I've seen so many, I mean, how many, when we just started the whole conversation around COVID, and we were doing those early day podcasts, like we were doing the Wartime CEO podcast.
Yes.
And like, what is the thing about a wartime CEO is like they live for these moments where there's chaos that erupts and they get to come in and steer the ship. Yeah. And I think like that's actually like, we can wait for these moments to occur in our lives, and hopefully like you won't have many of these sort of big disruptions in your life. But I think ultimately we have to find ways to go and look for some danger, to find some ways to take some risk, to wake up excited about what's going to happen in our day.
I made a video about it, and we haven't chatted about it, but I wrote a couple articles about it, about post-traumatic growth. And post-traumatic growth requires positive disintegration, which is I need to positively disintegrate the old idea I had about myself in order to begin the process of growth post-traumatic scenarios. And I think the Ironman is a representation of a physical disintegration to have this post-traumatic growth on what you're capable of doing in your physical form. We've all have emotional issues that are going on with COVID. Some obviously with physical, with people dying and having those sort of long tail behind COVID of not being able to breathe and those sort of things. But we don't often put ourselves in the physical situation to positively disintegrate and come out on the other side. I think one thing that I need to mention on this front is, and I made a comment on it on my social media, is that my friend Stuart Miller, who has got an incredible gym studio brand in Dubai called Platform Studios. I was training there a lot when I lived there and working with his staff with him. He said to me, the more you smile, the faster you go.
I saw that.
If you know Stuart's personality, he's always smiling, he's always happy, he gives everybody the benefit of the doubt, he's the most forgiving guy. He taught me a lot about that approach to life and not taking things personally. He's excellent at that. And when he said that to me, it really dawned on me that the ability to smile at people gives them the sense of being greeted warmly, and you yourself are actually taking control of the situation, of setting the tone of one of warmth. And so I did that throughout my race. I cheered everybody on. I made friends along the way. And I realized only on the race that actually dopamine, the excretion of dopamine, happens because of you smiling and because of you creating that energy of joy and excitement. And I guess that, a lot of the success of the race was also based on the emotional resonance of greeting, cheering, warmth, of joy. And that really was such a game-changing secret that I applied just the night before, that I thought, you know what, I'm just going to smile the whole way through all of this. And I think that was really helpful, and something that I think we should all be practicing a lot more, smiling everywhere we go, even though you've got masks on. People know you're smiling with your eyes. But I see you've been waiting patiently to post something on the picture. Are you going to post something now that I've finished?
No. I have Jaeger here next to me.
Right. Well, does he want to be on the podcast?
Yeah. I don't think
Hello, Jaeger boy.
Jaeger boy.
Yeah, he has been. It's people who don't know Jaeger. It's Erik's fur child, who does everything with him and his missus. They're two fur children.
Yeah.
One of two. Yes.
Listen, there were two things that I actually just wanted to say. The first is about competition. Like, people give competition a bad rap because I think there's so many bad ways of competition playing out. But I think when you look at competition through the lens of like Ironman or golf, for example, I think it's the perfect way that competition should occur, which is that there are people that you are competing with and they push you to be better, because by your teammate running a bit faster, you want to run a bit faster to keep up. And I think that benchmark helps you to improve. Like, undoubtedly, competition helps you to be better. But at the same time, it's about the spirit of competition. And I think what's great, and what I'm hearing you say as well, is that, like, you're running, and even though you're running against this person, you still cheer them on. You are still saying, like, I want to still see you succeed. And golf is the same thing. Like, you're playing with your mates and you want to win, but you also want to like see them hit amazing shots. And like, maybe sometimes it's like a small part of you that goes, I really hope you shank this, like, especially when it comes close to the end. But mainly, like, you really want to see them do well as well. Yeah. And I think that's what competition really should be. Like, that's always the beautiful part of competition for me.
Look, my friend Dale messaged me the night before. He says, John, look, all I want to say is, if you don't win, don't come back home. It's only winning that's going to matter. And he was just having a crack at me. But I said to him, I am going to win, because I'm only competing against myself. And I don't know. It's my first race. So I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm just going flat out as much as I can, having a good time. And that's also the competition, really, as, again, a cliche saying, you're really competing against yourself. And the Ironman is quite a selfish sport, because you are by yourself. There's not a team sport. It's really yourself. So yeah, I agree with you on competition. It's being gracious in your ability to compete. Yes.
Listen, I have a question here from Leon, and I'll get to that in a second. Just before we get to that, before we jump on the podcast, we have this new amazing structure to the podcast, where at the beginning of the podcast, we discuss some relevant and topical news, and then we go to the rest of the conversation.
You're such a chop.
I know. But as I was doing some research just before we were jumping on, it was interesting to me, because I was going through my LinkedIn feed and I couldn't find any thing that stood out for me, right? But I came across this one thing that I actually just wanted to share, and I thought it tied in nicely with your dopamine thing. This guy posted this graphic that says, get your daily dose. And it stands for dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins.
Oh, wow. I love that.
Cool. Yeah. And so it says, well, how do you do that? So, like, for the dopamine, do things like meditation, daily to-do list, long-term goals. For the oxytocin, it's physical touch, socializing, massages, listening to music, exercising. Serotonin, exercise, cold shower, sunlight, massage. And then for endorphins, laughter or crying, creating music, eating dark chocolate, exercising, massage again. That seems to come up quite a bit. So, like, everyone's just chill out and go for a massage. Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Look, I think that oxytocin one, the oxytocin one is a massive one, and I feel I missed that. Being a single guy in lockdown, you don't touch another human. You're on your own, and I think a lot of the world are in that space. No oxytocin, because oxytocin is brought about in relationships, with dogs, with kids. It's the human interaction and sort of that brings about oxytocin. But I love that dose. Get your daily dose.
To quickly give everyone some context, so dopamine is around motivation, learning, and pleasure. Oxytocin is feeling of trust. It's the cuddle or the love hormone, like you were just saying. Serotonin is feeling significant. It's being calm and accepting. And then endorphin is like the euphoria. It's the excitement, the akin to like adrenaline. So I thought I'd share that with you. Anyway, so let's quickly get to one or two questions here. So Leon had a question. I'll pop it on the screen for you as well. Looking to do an Ironman with this year experience, where would you recommend a newbie start?
Great question. I would have never been able to do this without Embark are the crew that I started training with. Look them up if they're in your area. I know Embark has a few different chapters around South Africa, but there's always going to be a group of people that you can tap into. I would imagine get hold of Ironman themselves and ask them who they recommend you to start training with. There's nothing like training within a group. You are accountable, you're held accountable, and you got somebody doing the thinking for you. And Steve Atwell, the guy who started Embark, he's done so many that he knows the process inside out. He got us to cycle through the running track the day before, told us what to look out for. So many little tips. So yes, definitely start with the crew and Embark if they're around. Definitely go with them.
It's quite funny because Joe is saying that you are giving Bean an oxytocin overdose.
No, with pets as well. Oxytocin is the connection between you and a sentient being. So yes, dogs also have an excretion of oxytocin when they see their owner. Or I don't like calling pets and owners. I think it's friends, like they're human friends. We don't own them. I don't know what people think they own their dogs. They don't own shit. They're friendship. Sorry, I shouldn't have sworn. But they're friends, and they're our friends. So yes, I do. Bean is my oxytocin partner. Absolutely.
She is.
Yeah.
It totally reframed my relationship with my two pups once I started seeing them as friends. Yeah. Totally. And we can speak about that for a very long time.
I think we should do one about our pets and animals and the idea of their intelligence and emotional awareness. I think a lot of people just aren't aware. I was speaking to a girl in Durban about it, and she was looking at me like I was an alien, talking about animals and their emotional states. And I was like, spend a little bit of time one-on-one with them and realize how emotionally even more aware than we are. They are just so in tune. I long to see a world where we actually start to accept them as sentient beings. I think England and New Zealand have made it a law now. But that's a long topic and we can get into it.
Yeah. So final one just from Daniel. So he's talking about, cheering helped you along with the Ironman. But what about if you are leading an organization? What kind of cheering should you be looking for and avoiding?
Yes, Daniel, drop the bombs there. I think the best person to answer that is Erik, because he is the leadership kind of guy. But just very quickly, I think the way I lead my team is their humanness first. So, their children, their family, their health, their financial situations are priority, and then comes the work. And I think when you humanize your staff, they build trust with you because it's genuine. The truth is I've also got human issues, and my human issues trump my work issues, because as they should, to be honest. And so if some of my team members are sleep deprived because they are teaching their 2-year-old to have sleep issues, that becomes a priority. And if they need to take a nap for an hour, obviously they're having a life they need to live, and then work second. So for me, it's humanizing your employees before leading them for work. And I think that for me has worked really wonders for me.
What I would say is what is cheering on? Cheering on at the end of the day for me is feedback. And I recently had a great session with a company around the book No Rules from Netflix. And in that they speak about the 4 A's for giving feedback. And the 4 A's is you always want to aim to assist. That's always the attitude that you have towards the people that you're giving feedback to. And I think there's this great phrase in coaching that says you have to treat everyone with unconditional positive regard. And I think that's kind of the place that you have to come from, is that I always want to give you feedback because I believe that you can be better, and I believe that or I want to help you and see you reach your potential. So that's the first part, is it's about the attitude that you bring to the table. And then the second part is really that you want to aim to assist, and that you want it to be actionable. And that's obvious. Very often when we give feedback, we want to focus on people's character, and that's not where you give feedback. You give them feedback on the behavior, and that they can change. And I think in a reasonably mature team or organization, if you have those as sort of guidelines for how we give feedback, then people
Go
also
through them
understand
again.
that it's not
Go through them
personal.
again.
So I only gave the 2. So it's aimed to assist
Yeah.
and actionable.
Oh, okay. I thought there was more. Didn't you say the A's?
I said 4 A's. The other 2 is really about how you receive it. So it's not about how you give it. So that's why I thought I'll just leave it out. But the other 2 is that you appreciate it. So you appreciate that someone is willing to take the time and to go through an activity that's actually quite uncomfortable for most people.
Yes.
Because like giving feedback isn't comfortable, I think, in most situations. But then secondly is that you can accept or disregard. You know, sometimes people give you good feedback and you take it on. Sometimes they give you feedback that's like off center and you can disregard that as well. So it's a good book to go read, No Rules Rules from Netflix.
I like that.
Where they talk a bit about the culture and how they give feedback.
They're big on culture there at Netflix, huh?
Oh, huge. And I think their culture deck is one of the best things that I've seen.
It was shared millions and millions of times.
Millions of times. And, you know, it's so clear. And also what I love about it is that, like, it's a focus on team and not on family. Because we want to make our teams our family because we love that kind of feeling of connection and belonging.
Yes.
But actually, like, it's one of the worst things you can do for your team because it takes away many of the aspects and it takes away the importance of just.
Okay, well, we lost Erik there. There's load shedding in Joburg. But either way, I'm sure this is still going live. For anybody who's listening, I think it's a good time to wrap up. We're actually over time. His electricity must have come back or something's happened there. Well, anyway, look, thanks everybody for all the messages. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for joining us. If you think anybody could benefit from hearing this episode, please do share it. And please do take care of yourself. Find places where you can push yourself out of your comfort zone. And once you've done that, go and take care of somebody else or an animal friend that you have close to you. Ciao from Cape Town.